Her arm was clamped earlier in the play.
I mean, look at that.
Like, what can she do there?
She literally can do nothing.
1. The Indiana Fever just went through what might be the most blatantly rigged game of the season, and this time you can't just pin it all on the refs. The real mess was a combination of whistle bias and flat-out coaching failure.
This was an embarrassing performance. How do you lose at home to the Dallas Wings? You lose at home to the Dallas Wings that lost to the gum on the bottom of the shoe, Chicago Sky 3 times. They lost to the Sky 3 times. You lose to the Dallas Wings. Man, stop it, man. Stephanie White is a joke.
Final score, Fever 80, Wings 81. But it wasn't just a heartbreaking 1-point loss. It was against the Dallas Wings, arguably the weakest team in the WNBA this year.
I just watched one of the biggest puke fest I've ever seen in my entire life.
From start to finish, the game was loaded with double standards, peak physicality, and some of the most questionable officiating you'll see all season. But here's the twist. The refs weren't the only ones to blame. Head coach Stephanie White, who blasted the officials afterward for their inconsistency, completely ignored her own costly mistakes. One win in the last 4 home games says it all.
1-3 run at home by the opposing team on you when the opposing team is the Dallas Wings and they're not any good.
And the worst part? This is becoming a trend. If you think corrupt officiating and Stephanie White's sideline decisions handed Dallas this win, type "We are done" in the comments.
Guys, today it's bad enough when you have the referees being so incompetent, so inconsistent, clearly calling things one way for a certain player and calling it another way for another player.
Let's break it down. This wasn't just a narrow loss. It was a masterclass in winning without being the better basketball team. The real MVPs? The 3 people in stripes. From tip-off, the whistle clearly had a favorite. Paige Buchers could shove off for space with no call. Sophie Cunningham so much as breathes near her. Foul. The most ridiculous? Late in the 4th, with Indiana closing in and momentum shifting, Buchers blatantly extends her arm for separation. Every rulebook calls that an offensive foul, except apparently the one used that night. Instead, Cunningham gets whistled. Dallas gets the ball, the momentum, and the gift wrap.
You can just see right here, Sophie and Paige. Sophie has her arms out. Sophie doesn't have her arms on Paige, and Paige just shoves her. Paige just shoves her, and it's called a foul on Sophie. But then this is, in my opinion, one of the most egregious calls I've ever seen in basketball.
It was infuriating for everyone on the Fever side. Caitlin Clark was caught clapping sarcastically at a ref post-game, and White herself went on record calling out the double standards. Indiana clawed back from 17 points down, unleashed a 19-3 run, and still fell short by 1. And every time the Fever built momentum, the game somehow got interrupted, always in Dallas's favor. But the refs weren't the only problem on August 12th. The Fever had another one, wearing a suit and standing courtside.
We don't call a timeout at the first case, we don't call a timeout at the second instance, and we don't call a timeout the third time. Instead, we wait until the last possible second to call a timeout.
Final possession, down 1, Natasha Howard grabs a rebound. Clock ticking. Any sharp coach calls timeout immediately to set up a clean final play. Instead, White lets it burn until 1.7 seconds are left. By then, all you can run is a miracle heave. 8. Then there were the rotations. Lexi Hull, a spark plug earlier this season, barely saw the floor. Players without chemistry got heavy minutes. Spacing collapsed, defense wavered, and the team looked like strangers. Adjustments?
Opposing team is the Dallas Wings and they're not any good. I mean, seriously, what just happened during this game?
The Wings stayed aggressive. The officiating was shaky, and the Fever stuck to the same stale plan all night. Even timeouts were mistimed, letting Dallas's runs balloon before finally stopping play when it was already too late. This isn't new for White. With Caitlin Clark missing nearly 20 games this year, the offense could have been reshaped to fit the team's actual strengths. Instead, White keeps cramming everyone into the same rigid system. And when your game plan costs you close contests, it's more than inefficiency. It's a pattern. 9. Now let's zoom out. The WNBA right now has two glaring problems: officiating and coaching. August 12th proved both. The officiating issue? It's season-long. Missed calls, phantom fouls, and inconsistency that makes games feel lopsided. When it happens in marquee matchups, it kills trust with fans. The coaching issue? White's late timeouts, awkward rotations, and reluctance to adjust mid-game. You can't afford that in close battles, and especially against teams on a 5-game losing streak. Combine the two, and you've got a league where fans start questioning whether outcomes are decided by talent or by bad whistles and poor coaching. That's dangerous for a league trying to build momentum and attract new viewers. 10. After the game, White talked plenty about the refs, but said nothing about her own choices. No mention of the late timeout, the mismanaged rotations, or the lack of urgency. And that's the deeper problem. Indiana has the talent. Boston, Mitchell, and a healthy Clark should mean playoff runs. But if leadership avoids accountability, the tone shifts from "we'll fix this" to "it's someone else's fault." That's how promising seasons get wasted.
She plays puke ball. I think she plays slow. I think she plays boring basketball. I think she often gives players too much of a leash when she shouldn't. Gives players she should give more of a leash to none of it. She doesn't seem to believe in the hot hand. In fact, she seems to do the opposite of the hot hand, where if a player makes a couple of shots, she pulls them.